Thank you. My name is Kerrie Brady. I'm the Chief Executive Officer of OcuTerra Therapeutics, and I'm delighted to be here today to provide you with an update of what we've been doing at OcuTerra during the last year. And for those of you who are not familiar with us, we'll have also a brief introduction to our company. Here are the highlights. If you remember nothing else from today, these are the key things that I'll be touching on. And this is in relation to the development of OTT-166, which is a novel selective integrin inhibitor that we are able to deliver to the retina through an eye drop application. It's currently in phase 2, and we have our top-line data readout next quarter. We're actually counting down the days now. So those of you who are involved in clinical trials understand that this is a very exciting time in the process. So we are developing 166 as a way to address the needs of the tremendous numbers of patients who have diabetic retinopathy, but until they develop a vision-threatening complication such as diabetic macular edema, the current standard of care is to watch and wait and hope that you catch the progression of the disease and the emergence of a vision-threatening complication in time so that you can go in and rescue with an intravitreal treatment or perhaps laser therapy. And this is the reason we have watch and wait is because there are not any approved, available, non-invasive, and in particular local therapies that can be used to treat the disease earlier in the process, where the risk-reward balance or the risk-benefit profile really does argue for a non-invasive local approach. So with regards to our phase 2 DREAM study, and that DREAM stands for Diabetic Retinopathy Early Active Management, we are fully enrolled. I announced this summer that we were fully enrolled in our phase 2 program, which is 225 patients, and I'll tell you a little bit more about that study, but a very robust and well-designed study. And in fact, we were able to be very efficient in the enrollment there. So just in 12 months, we were able to involve those 225 patients. It's partly because we have a great team, we had a great CRO we're working with, but we also think the inherent appeal to patients to have access to a non-invasive option certainly helped with that process. Importantly, we've designed the phase 2 program that will give us the information we need to design our phase 3. At the moment, we anticipate that the phase 3 program will be a similarly designed study, but we'll have a 12-month readout. The current study is a 6-month readout. Now, we have a very small but mighty team. We are an N of 7 in the company, and we've been very efficient with the use of our funds in getting to this point. At the end of 21, we closed on a Series B raise of $35 million. So, just over 2 years, of time, we've been able to make some great progress. So looking forward, where and how we see OTT-166 fitting into the pathway and the paradigm, if you like, for treating diabetic retinal disease patients, we really think that this is going to be a paradigm-shifting opportunity, being able to have a non-invasive earlier intervention here. And this is going to enable use earlier in millions of patients potentially here in the US and worldwide. And we're looking in our study to not only to improve the health of the retina, so get that DRSS score down, but also to reduce the rate or even hopefully eliminate the progression to more severe forms of the disease and vision-threatening complications. An important aspect of developing this new modality of non-invasive eye drops that can be administered by the patient themselves, it really does open up a much broader prescriber base and increases access for patients to this treatment. So a little bit about our molecule, and to be clear, OTT-166 is based on a new chemical entity, a new molecule that was created specifically to be able to cross through the tissues in the eye to reach the retina. We know that it gets through the transscleral route, but also that it has a powerful anti-VEGF plus effect. And by plus, we mean interacting with other growth factors that are important in establishing diabetic retinal disease and its progression. As summarized in this diagram here, The integrins are a very interesting group of receptors, and in particular these RGD binding subgroup of receptors are known to be particularly involved with the disease processes. And how they work is that normally the integrin signaling winds up and amplifies the signaling of the other growth factor receptors, such as VEGF, etc. But if we block our integrin, what that does is it blocks that amplification and blocks that signaling. So even if something is interacting with, say, VEGF2, the signaling is not getting through. And so that's how we turn off that messaging. Another way to look at it is that we're also looking at multiple aspects of diabetic retinopathy. More and more that we learn about this disease is the important role not only of angiogenesis and leakage and trying to prevent that from happening, but also too the importance of inflammation as another factor in the process. And through selective integrin inhibition, we can tap that down, and also to slow down and prevent the longer-term complications of fibrosis. So, where we are now, based on our phase 1b study, which was done in 40 patients, treated for 4 weeks with a drop twice a day, and then examined after the first 4-week period, and then just with observation for the second 4-week period. We saw very compelling response in that 35% of the patients had a clinically meaningful reduction in that central retinal thickness. Remembering this is an all-comers study, VEGF naive, VEGF experienced, VEGF resistant. So on the basis of this, we can show that the molecule not only gets to the retina from the eye drop application, but it also has a biological effect when it gets there. So this is what informed the design of our phase 2 program, which is now about to read out. Key was we could see that the patients who were more likely to respond were anti-VEGF naive. So we use this as the basis for inclusion criteria in our study. In particular, we are looking at those patients where in clinical use the product would be a first-line monotherapy in patients who are newly diagnosed, if you like, with diabetic retinopathy. We're also doing a 12-month study, and we've had a meeting with the FDA to guide us not only in what we're doing in this study, but also all the way through to NDA. So as I said, the current study now, 2 dose levels versus vehicle, the regulatory endpoint of percentage of patients having a 2 or more step improvement in the DRSS score. The patient population are those who are moderately severe to severe, non-proliferative diabetic retinopathy, but also we limited up to 20% of patients with mild proliferative diabetic retinopathy. Importantly, though, they have minimal vision loss and they do not have DME. So just to finish up on this slide here, we looking forward to being also prepared to move forward with the phase 3 program with that, so that to have the goal of being phase 3 initiation ready by the end of 2024. So working on not only the necessary clinical, regulatory and CMC work to enable that, but also the important clinical and medical affairs and awareness building for the program as we're going forward. So a lot of work has been focusing on that during this year. The team here, folks who've been in the industry developing drugs, companies and in ophthalmology, expert board of directors, and we're particularly grateful for the input and support of our scientific advisory board. So thank you, and I look forward to updating you next year. Well, hopefully the results of the study by then. So thank you. Bye-bye.